Welcome everyone to Holistic Wisdom Live, Collective Conscious Awakening with my dear friend today, Nina Urman. Nina is a conscious mindset coach, and her mission is to unlock and declutter whatever keeps you from your dreams and desires to support your unique life vision from a place of awareness, acceptance, and alignment. So I'm truly honored to bring Nina to all of you. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the weekly events that I do, just know that we're going from Zoom and we're live streaming into Facebook. So if any of you have questions, we'll be able to address all of the questions once we're done, and Nina will be happy to answer them on the page, and we'll provide all of the links for all of you. So thank you so much for being here, Nina. And I'm so grateful that you're here. Nina lives in Paris, and we met, I don't know how long ago, 4 years, 3-4 years ago in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we've had just a beautiful connection, and Nina is just a wonderful, wonderful human being, and I cannot wait for all of you to meet her. Nina speaks, how many languages do you speak, Nina?
I speak 4 fluently, and my 5th one is Spanish, which is, conversational, but I don't coach in it yet. This is coming up.
Amazing. So you are coaching in English, Russian, French,
and German.
Amazing. Incredible. So I cannot wait for you all to get acquainted with Nina. Today's topic is the art of doing what you love. And even though we're going through so many difficulties as a collective at this very moment, most people are, I would say, over 45 million people in the United States, I believe, are unemployed at this moment. I'm not sure what the global statistics is. And I would say that it is a perfect opportunity, even though we're going through these difficult times and struggles, so many things are coming up for everyone. It's a perfect opportunity to go deep into and finally have the courage to address what are some of the things that you love, what are some of the things that you're good at, and perhaps make that your career path. And I know it takes a lot of courage to make a decision to step into your love, right? So Nina, go ahead and please guide us through the process of, for you, I would love for people to get to know your journey of where you were when you were younger and how you are where you are today. And then we can go through the process of how people can navigate into doing what they love.
Thank you so much, Elena. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to talk to you today and share parts of my work. I call it living an uncompromised, unconditional life from within. And really connecting to that essence of who you are, living life from the inside out, I think is what most of us are called to do even during these uncertain, challenging times. And if you ask me and my story, so I'm half Russian, half German. I've been living in Paris for the past 10 years with my husband, and now our 7 children. So there's a lot of challenges that I've been going through different countries, different uncertain moments. So I can really speak to that, maybe fear and anxiety of choosing something and going for something with your full heart. And, today as a coach, I coach so many people through these different emotions and, moments of truths, like transitional moments. And I believe right now is a perfect moment to really go into your heart, understand what it is that you love doing, and where you can make the best contribution, bring your uniqueness out. So my story is that at the age of 9, we moved from Russia to Germany, and I started to play professional tennis at the early age of 9 years old. Literally, my dad gave me a tennis racket and said, "You're going to become a professional tennis player." And as children do, is I took on the challenge. I'm the only child, so there was a lot of attention and love. And at the same time, I took on a lot of pressure and fears and insecurities. They always say that, when I came to Germany, I had this light backpack on me with full of hopes and dreams and desires. And when I had this tennis racket all of a sudden in my hand, this backpack became heavier and heavier. And not because I was playing tennis or because I was, doing, because of the circumstances, but because of the story that I was telling myself, right? And at the same time, this training of becoming the best version, the best tennis player I could be at the moment, taught me how much I can actually control with my brain, how my mindset will set me up for success or failure. Failure as a feedback from the universe, right? A feedback that what is happening, for me rather than to me, right? So I play professional tennis on the circuit, and I traveled the world, and I understood that the way I can literally do what I love and show up every day for it is a habit and is a training that is happening up here. And the more consciousness I can bring into my thoughts, but also my body, the better I will show up as my best self.
That's great. So there's so many topics we can address, of course,
Yeah.
having to deal with many different age groups in your home, right? To having the challenge of being able to train yourself as a child, right? To stay focused and focus on your vision and your dream, and then taking you to doing what you love at the moment, which is your passion. So let's talk about your passion and how you've been able, because that passion translates for so many people in different ways, but how you've been able to understand that that is what you love, right? Because we're talking about the art of loving what you do and how important it is to wake up and be inspired by exactly what you do. Because if you don't love what you do, you dread every single day.
Right. And I think many people are kind of trying to have it all. And I think this inside out life approach that I'm going to share with you is going to take you from not having what you want or not being who you want to absolutely having everything you want and being who you want and loving what you do and doing what you love. See, some people have wonderful relationships, but their career isn't where they want it to be, or other people have an amazing career but struggle in their relationships, and some have both, but as have no time for self-care and their health and well-being suffers. And others again seem to have it all, but they have this inner urge to give back and contribute in a big way and to live their purpose, and they don't know exactly how. And I work with people just as you in a very holistic way so they can have this emotional happiness and financial abundance and relationship success and health. And the good news, it all starts inside of you. I think loving what you do, doing what you love, it starts with understanding who you are. That's the most important key. Having supported people for the last 10 years all around the world, because I coach in so many different languages, I see that it doesn't really matter, on the outside, we're all so different, but on the inside, we all want the same thing. We want to contribute. We want to be seen and validated for who we are, bring that essence out, and show up truly with love and compassion and contribute in a big way. That's, I think, is what we're here to do. And when people come to me for guidance, they usually ask, how do I manifest that? Like, how do I live out my passion? How do I, have a better life experience? How do I feel better? And I always say, in order to change your life, you need to change your energetic vibration. You need to reconnect to that inside, because most of us are trying to change the external, right? Oh, if I only have that job, or if I only had another husband, if I only had, this, and this. But everything external is just a circumstance. What you will experience on the inside is going to be your perception. It's going to be your way of thinking, your story that you're going to tell yourself.
Okay, so let's take some people right now. Let's say some people are sitting at home right now, unemployed, struggling to figure out what's next. So where would you tell a person to begin? So let's take people on this short kind of journey of where to begin on the inside. Like how can a person sitting at home begin that process?
Okay, so you kind of have to imagine there's you, and this is the core, and then there's a relationship with other people, and then the relationship with the world, right? And all true connection emerges from one place only, and that's the connection within. You have to understand your relationship and your thoughts about yourself are the most important that there are ever, right? So if you have a really good aligned relationship with yourself and you know what your thoughts are, you're going to show up as a confident, loving person towards yourself. And then it's going to be much easier for you to unblock that gift. But many of us, because we have 40,000 to 60,000 thoughts every day, and most of them are negative, especially right now under the perceived circumstances, and there's a lot of fear around, we might question ourselves, doubt ourselves, sabotage ourselves and our dreams. So what I would say is to really start with self-awareness and introspection. You know, my 3 lines are awareness, acceptance, alignment, right? So the very first step is to say, okay, what am I thinking right now? What is the result I want? First of all, okay, what is the result I want? And how am I going to get there is through understanding what I'm thinking, how I can process my feelings, and then move into action, because nothing gets done without action, right? We can't just think about it and manifest it like this. We need to take action and move forward. And you know, Elena, when I first got into the personal development journey, many people would say life is a school, you know, we need to learn, they're here to grow, to develop, and whatnot. And at one point, for me at least, and I don't know if you would agree with that, I thought it's the other way around. What if I already knew what I was here to do? What if I already knew who I am? But there was like a lot of limitations and limiting beliefs and sabotage thinking that I've kind of, you know, armed myself with, that I can't even access that essence. So I actually teach people to take the limitations off, to take the different jackets off that they've put on as a protection, to not allow themselves to dream big. It's almost, you know, I'm saying, remember who you are. It's bringing pieces of yourself back. Remembering, you know, remembering who you are. So, and this is what awareness allows you to do, because the level of your consciousness literally determines the quality of every aspect in your life. So it's the first stage.
Kind of like the same thing, because to me that's what learning is. I call it life as a school, because it is learning to unlearn everything that you've collected, and it's learning to understand yourself on the deepest level, right? So it is learning to remember. I would say it's probably right.
And it sounds so simple, right? We're like, it is, I think it's truly simple, and most of the religions, most of the wisdoms say the exact same thing. It's just not easy in practice, as it's a muscle that we train. It's like going on the court, on the tennis court every day and hitting that ball 1,000 times till you really understand that everything is coming from inside of you. Like many people would say, well, life is just happening to me, and this is my circumstances, there's nothing I can do about it. But actually, life is happening for you. It is a gift, and it's happening by you as well, because of your thinking, because of your feelings, and because of your actions that you're taking, right? So many people are sleepwalking their lives, and they are in the job that they don't enjoy. They work on autopilot. They look at their watches every 30 minutes and they complain when they get home. This is the victim mentality. And once you awaken to the idea that, you know, everything in your life is determined by you and only you, it gives you your power back.
Yes. So I guess the first thing that we're letting people know is set your vision or your goal. Taking action is important, because I'm going back to where we started, so people can kind of keep it in a compartments, right? And we said that it's important to understand, become aware of your limiting beliefs, because ultimately we sabotage with our own limiting beliefs, and that is what's holding us back from achieving or doing exactly what it is that we want to do.
Absolutely. Well, so if you think about it, then you'd have a result, right? So it's the result that you want to achieve. And the result is connected to the actions. So you can say, okay, if I wanted to have this dream job, or, do something that I love doing, that like in my mind, this is what I've decided I would like to do, but there's like so much fear around it. You'd ask yourself, what are the actions that I need to take to get to this result? And then you'll ask yourself, oh, okay, so how do I need to feel in order to act this way? And most of the time we'll say, well, I really need to feel confident. I need to believe in myself. I need to really be in that state of passion, right? And excitement. And how do I get there? Well, it is through your thinking, because our thoughts create our feelings that drive our actions, and our actions ultimately provide us with the results that we have in our lives. So the thoughts, it's really important. If thoughts create our feelings, then our feelings are kind of the force. Like, we need to understand what we're thinking in order to feel a certain way. And then actually, when we are connected to our feeling and our flow, we talk a lot about flow with you, because professional sports people understand the feeling of flow. They don't even know what's happening to them. It's just happening through them, right? But it is connected to the brain and the chemistry in the brain and the neuroplasticity, because the thoughts literally create a feeling that will drive your action and then provide you with the results that you want. So you have to go backward with it. Like, what's the result I want? What are the actions that I need to take? How do I need to feel in order to act from that place? And then what do I need to think? Because the beliefs are what like often keeps us stuck in a place where we actually don't want to be.
Working with people, because I read the human energy field, and I know that a lot of people think that they have free will. And to some extent we do. But if based on the diagram that you also just shared, because thoughts are so important, actually events and situations that happen in our life are stored in the field. So what happens is, when we're acting and reliving our life based on the same pattern, we're actually overriding our own free will. So therefore, it's impossible for us to have a very different outcome, or the outcome we desire, if we keep reliving the same story over and over and over, even with different actors and different patterns in our life. So
totally, it's the belief system, right? That keeps on repeating. And it is like, if we say life is a school, or the unlearning of it, then it is there to show you what you still need to unlearn, right?
What would you say is the most challenging phase for you working with people? Where do you see the biggest challenge? So we just addressed the thoughts. Where would you say the biggest challenge for most people is?
The biggest challenge, and I'll make this complete, is to accept the circumstance. So the circumstance is completely neutral until you have a thought about it. Let's say, I'm broke, or I, have a really bad relationship with my husband, or I, although I have a really bad relationship is already a thought, but like something's happening. Like, for instance, the coronavirus is a perfect example of a neutral circumstance. It just is what it is. And most of my clients, they'll come to me and say, I want to change this circumstance. I want to change the world. Basically, they say, I want to change the world so I can feel better. And I'll say, no, what you need to do is to work on yourself, and your inner work is to see how to connect to the essence that's completely outside of the model, right? To the essence of who you are, so you can manage your thought, process your feelings, take courageous actions, and have the results that you want, because the circumstance is just what is. So the most challenging, I would say, is accepting what is. Byron Katie says, if circumstances are reality, and when you argue with the reality, you lose by 100% of the time. Right? So it's not the circumstance that's causing our pain, but rather the thoughts about it.
Or just also recognizing it's temporary. Everything is temporary, right? The majority of people see circumstances like, this is my permanent situation, and therefore paralyzing the actions, right, that a person would take.
Yeah. Absolutely. And nothing, this too shall pass is one of the mantras I use, because everything is just in motion and energy and flow. And by the way, this model kind of, I learned it from Brooke Castillo, who's a life coach, and she's awesome because she teaches people to really own their own thoughts and emotions. But I feel like we can go really further with this and say, what is the spiritual message here? That we are actually not our thoughts or our feelings or our actions or our results. We're something that's outside of this, kind of the observer looking at our lives and saying, okay, like this is happening. This is my human experience. How do I get to, like, I get to show up as whatever I want. I get to feel whatever I want. What do I want to experience? That's the biggest question. That's like the $1 million question that I always ask people. I say, so how do you want to experience? And if you know how you want to feel, what do you need to be thinking?
And that's really the shift, I think, the mindset that I also talk about. The hijacking of the entire matrix that we're in is the victimhood. I'm the victim, so therefore, I don't have any choice in my situations, right? Or the circumstances or the outcome. While the mindset is really shifting into, I'm in charge of my life. And this is a circumstance at the moment, but guess what? As you said, you can shift into something else. And that's
the circumstance is not even that's evolving. It's like, remember that quote, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Like, it's literally that. Like, imagine, and people will argue with me on that because they'll say, but the coronavirus is horrible, or what's happening in the US right now, it's horrible. And I say, well, you wouldn't have an emotional reaction to it until you have thought about it. And because you have the power to change your thoughts, you'll have the power to change your experience. And that changes everything. I think part of the suffering and also the challenging part is that people think that we need to be happy most of the time or all of the time. And what about having a human experience and embracing it all, accepting all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, and processing the emotion rather than resisting it or ignoring it or, arguing with it. Many of us just don't want to feel.
But what's interesting? I'm bringing this up because I've been seeing this, because in the matrix, a lot of very successful people are also extremely disconnected and they don't have emotions. And I think for majority of people, or we're talking about consciousness and raising the consciousness of our planet, humanity, it is stepping into and acknowledging yourself as a conscious, emotional being, right? Because we are allowed to have emotions, and our emotions don't have to drive the way that we experience life, but I think they're a crucial part of it. So, just, you said, yes, a lot of people want love, but I think it's important, like at the time that we're in right now, having the compassion. Like for me, I've noticed I've been going through deep feelings of like, wow, I'm feeling for this community. I'm feeling for this community. I have like deep sadness right now for the collective. And I feel like, does it rule my life? No, but I have this capacity to hold and acknowledge, because I know that I'm part of that. We're part of each other. We're deeply connected. And I feel that it's important to put that into whatever the person is wanting to achieve in their life, and acknowledge and respect and honor all the emotions that are coming through. So do you agree with that? I think that's
yes. I mean, it's part of moving into self-acceptance is processing emotion, because many of us don't know how to feel. Like, literally, we try to avoid, to ignore, to resist the anger or the sadness, the grief, because we kind of bought into that idea that we need to be happy or joyful at all times. But right now, like, truly, we don't want to feel happy all of the time. Like when somebody dies or what we're experiencing right now, we need to give ourselves permission to feel sad, to feel the anger come up. and to be with it, literally. Like, accepting reality is very powerful. And many of, the people I work with, they challenge me in this because they say that they will lose the power to change anything if they accept. But it's simply not true. I feel that accepting the moment exactly as is, without completely identifying with it, this is where all the power is. Like, Eckhart Tolle says this over and over again. He says, the power is now, like now is the only place we have, and we're spending our present moment, fighting the reality, then we lose it.
You know what it is, I think?
Mm-hmm.
I think about where people are stuck. What I think people are afraid of is letting go because of control.
Yeah.
So I think most people are trying to control, and it's about surrender. So understanding the circumstance, but surrendering to it and allowing for that to flow, for that flow to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Accepting the way things are doesn't mean that we excuse them or that we agree with them. It just means we're not trying to change something by pushing against it. We're not choosing to go to war. We're not over controlling. We're choosing not to force the change with a negative feeling. It's almost like, we're judging the judgers. We're yelling at the yellers. And we can totally change things from a place of peace and love. I think there's so much freedom in when we release that resistance against the circumstances. It doesn't disempower us. It really gives us our power back. And like knowing that the human experience is all of it, embracing it all, I think this is what really can be helpful for people that are trying to find their passion right now. To say, this is the duality of life. I wouldn't even know what happiness is if I didn't have the opposite of it, right? And we can create whatever experience we want right now. That's like so powerful, right? If I came with a tray of emotions, I say this example a lot, and I'd say to you, what would you like to experience today? Would it be anger, sadness, excitement, gratitude, grief? And then you could choose and, consciously choose on purpose rather than happening to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about it, because sometimes I think things just come also, and as part of the experience, because we are observers of it, right, as well. So therefore we experience it. I don't know if I'm just placing me in it, if I'm consciously choosing to feel sad, but I do feel sad. Like last couple of weeks, I felt sad, really sad. And I recognized this is a very powerful feeling. So I'm not consciously choosing every day to have sadness, because this is absolutely actually not my state of being.
No, you can also unconsciously, but like remember that it always comes from a thinking, from a thought. If you didn't have a thought, you would not have an emotion. Like, it's just.
I guess it's getting into things, watching things, and yes, but
Yeah.
how connected, disconnected. So do you suggest people stay disconnected? Like, let's say there's world issues going on, to not feel sadness. If you want to be conscious, that means you have to completely shut off everything around.
No. The idea is to be with it and really process it, because if not, you would ignore it and resist it again, and pushing against it is actually making it worse. Experiencing an emotion completely, whatever it is actually going to make it easier for you, because then you can own the emotion. I even say to people when they feel angry, try to put on the volume of anger even higher, so you can, you can really feel angry, but then you own the emotion, you own the anger, right?
Mama, I need to show you.
I can say hi, love. It's okay.
I love it.
This is what happens. Yes.
This is what happens all the time when we have kids, right? And
Mama, I need his boba too.
Okay, Dima. Mama's working, okay?
Boba.
So this is the reality of
It's so hurt.
Okay, I'm back to you.
yes. So So how, let's talk about this, because it is an art. It is requiring to be conscious, is requires a lot of awareness, right? So fully present in the moment. So let's say there's, as we know, there's chaos in right now, the entire world up in chaos as far as deep wounds are coming up to the surface. And I would say from majority of communities, it's not just one type of community that's being hit, it's across the globe, okay? And that is, to me, the time where things can begin to heal. How do you consciously navigate through difficulties, like, for example, such as today, and still be able to focus on your passion and your love and figuring out how you can contribute, whatever it might be, whether you want to get a job at a company or you want to start a business. How would you recommend for people to do that? Because there's so much happening.
Yeah. Well, challenges change us, right? So if you haven't noticed, there's change everywhere, right? All the time. This is not the first time we're going through things like this, and this is not the last time. Like throughout history, this is what's happening, and this is what's going to happen, right? It's like this is the circumstance of life. It's a human experience. We're here, like you say, there's a lot of healing going on, and I believe actually that there is a lot of good things that are going to come out of this and are coming out of this already. So it's, again, the way you choose to look at it. Many businesses are going down, unemployment, other people are maybe profiting from this situation. There is ups and downs, but nothing is permanent. So it's a flow of life. If you choose to take this stance, it takes the drama out of it, right? It's just, this is what's happening in the world. You don't argue with the reality because it is what it is. So now you get to choose, how do you want to show up? Then you're ready to unleash your creative brilliance to be the force for good if you choose to do so. Because it doesn't serve you to be in worry mode. It doesn't serve you to be, kind of to take the stance of, I'm going to fight this, or I'm going to, resist this. You can process this, absolutely. You can allow sadness, you can allow anger, you can allow all these emotions. But then what actions do you take from that place? Does this serve you? Can you move into the essence of who you are? Can you move into unconditional love and serve from that place? I believe this is a huge opportunity right now for leaders like ourselves to say, how can I be the best version of myself right now in the uncertainty? Because so many of us are kind of looking outside of us and waiting for our presidents to tell us what to do, right? No, what can I do right now? Like in this 3 months of confinement, for instance, people were kind of waiting out a lot and just, I'm going to wait this out and see what happens. But some of us were taking this 3 months, how can I rebuild my business? How can I learn a new language? How can I be the change that I want to see in the world? And I think it takes so much courage, because the biggest power you have in this is in decision, like in your ability to respond by the way you're showing up in the world. This is not so much even about what you do, but who you are doing it. Like what's the energy that you're taking into your actions, sharing that light and lightness. It's not magical, right? But it will have a magical effect.
Perhaps what you can give to people today, I think a lot of people might find this very helpful, is showing an example of how they can release or face their biggest emotion right now, right? Something that is they don't want to face. But do you have an exercise that you can show to people of like the easiest way to acknowledge and release an emotion that's been, or a wound, right? Help process the wound that's been stored for a very long time.
Yeah, how can we process that energy inwards? Well, mindfulness, or a higher state of awareness, is a lifestyle, right? This is something that we need to practice over and over, it's not going to be like this. It's not going to be very quick, although it can be for some people as well. So intentionally focus our moment inward would be, meditation and breathing. I know you talk about this a lot. It is the antidote to stress, to negativity, and it is our superpower, truly. To be in that state of silence, giving yourself that break. It's not another thing on the to-do list. It's rather something that you do that releases that energy, right? We're talking a lot about physical hygiene right now. I always say that, what about the energetic hygiene? What about all the garbage that you have in your mind? Like meditation, if you meditate already, that's a great way to release emotion and be in the moment. But if you're more of a cerebral person, I would suggest a thought download, that you kind of just write everything down that is in your mind, put everything on paper, like take it literally out of your brain and take the garbage out, take everything out, right? You want to start from a clean place and then see, okay, usually when people look at it, they're like, oh, if I'm thinking all of this, no surprise that I'm feeling this way. Right? It just brings awareness and consciousness into the moment of releasing. But then there's other things, like you could physically, cry, release emotion. You could punch a pillow if you need to be angry right now and you're like angry at the world and you wanted to release that emotion somewhere outward without like hurting anybody else, because we also sometimes react and overreact. Like punch a pillow, punch a pillow, cry yourself out, take it all out, journal, meditate, whatever it needs for you to be, to come back into that essence and unpack all the stuff that's in your way, doesn't serve you.
So the steps, again, towards, because we said there's situations, there's limiting beliefs, decluttering space, your energetic space, your mind, and then action. I mean, a lot of people probably are stuck and fearful to take action towards their goal. There's always something that is stopping. What would you say you notice is the biggest blocking factor for taking action for people?
Something that works, you're asking? Something that works?
That works to open that up. Yeah.
Well, something that I asked many times is, what would your future self tell you? Creating in the now from the future is a great exercise to say, okay, if you were ready to achieve that goal, connect to that vibration and tell me, what is the advice that person will give you? Like, you have a goal, you're already there. Vibration, like, feel it. Imagination is another tool. I always say that there's 3 superpowers we have, and one of them is mindfulness with the practice of meditation. The other one is imagination, like literally propulsing yourself already to where I am, visualizing yourself in that space and say, okay, I'm already there. What am I thinking? And already being that person in the moment. Like, if there is a goal that I want to be, I don't know, like, I want to make a certain amount of money. Okay, what if you're making already that money, what is the person giving you as an advice backwards? And then being in that vibration is what's going to get you there. It's almost like, you're chasing yourself, but it's a great one. People really identify with it because they have some specific goal and specific visual identification.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know for me, a lot of my latest content that I've created actually was from progression therapy and I saw what I'm supposed to do in the future. It's very interesting because I didn't share that with you. And then I created my entire content for this latest program that I have based on what I saw. I actually took steps back and then I put it out there. So yeah, that's definitely a great way to manifest, because already you're in alignment, you feel it so deeply and it's so clear. So I would say also that when you become very clear, right, with your goal, it just feels so right. It feels like this is perfection in every way. Then it's very easy to take the steps into the now and make it happen from the now, right?
Absolutely. And then the third superpower, and you kind of spoke to this, is also intuition. We know that intuition is actually, it's the greatest power of all. It becomes consistently available through the practice of mindfulness, meditation, and imagination, because you get out of your mind and into your heart flow and getting out of your own way and trusting divine guidance. Like if you've seen a vision of yourself, already kind of being where you want to be, you can channel creativity. Intuition leads you to bring your dreams to fruition. Right? It's like an internal GPS that you can then trust and say, my head says this, but my heart really says this. And how can I follow up on that impulse, like trusting on it and then acting up on it? First is recognizing that it's there and then trusting it, which sometimes is very scary. But again, it's a divine guidance system that leads to opportunities, that opens up doors. And then they'll definitely receive where you need to go as well.
I would say that's a great advice. Intuition is something we're born with, but I think majority of people disconnect from it because our mind takes over and overrides that as well. So it's allowing yourself to have the moments throughout the day where you practice that silence to listen. And to me, actually, meditation is part of that. It's reconnecting you to your essence, but your deeper layers, which is your intuitive self. And that is, to me, the highest wisdom is in there. It's not something you read in the books, or you can, it's a much bigger thing. So I think that's a great advice for people.
Well, the way I look at it is like, if we are spiritual beings having a human experience, we have a human brain, we have a human heart, we have this physicality, but we are not it. Like, we are not our thoughts or feelings or actions or results. We are the essence outside of it, kind of observing ourselves. And then it becomes really like a tennis game. It becomes the game of life. What do I need to experience? What do I want to experience? Because I'm here to experience, because I believe, in that state of essence, we're in bliss all of the time. So we can't really identify with sadness or anger or all these things. So we're actually here to experience emotions and feelings and thoughts, because this is what we'll be given. Somebody wanted us and we're worthy of all of it. So let's make it good and let's go after our goals. Let's create whatever we want to create and live in that essential part, like connected to that essential part, but within our human experience.
I think that will be a much greater perspective to look at yourself from a higher perspective. So it's a lot easier to navigate through challenging moments in life. So I think your advice has been really, really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Nina, how can people find you?
Yeah, so they can find me on my website, which is ninaurman.com. They can, reach out to me, just fill out the contact formula, or they can even send me an email directly. I'll read everything. I am very committed to my community right now because I know it's a very challenging time. And I've been coaching people nonstop all around the world. And I really need to tell you that we are all in the same boat in this. It's so interesting because we are so different walks of life, different colors of skin, different professions, different financial backgrounds, social backgrounds, and we all want the same. We all want to feel loved, to be connected, to be complete, to experience. And I truly believe, and I know we talked about this, we're all one. So there is no real separation. It's an illusion. And when I can contribute to that idea, I feel very nourished and very much in my essence. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. And if any of you have questions, Nina will answer them after the live event. So thank you so much for joining. See you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Oh, my love.